The Grand Council chamber hummed with tension, and frankly, I was already regretting my life choices. And my name is Vrax, and I'm what the humans would call a bureaucrat. On my homeworld of Krell 9, that's actually a respectable profession. Here, surrounded by the galaxy's most terrifying apex predators, it just made me the idiot with a clipboard who had to document everyone's horrible deaths. The summit of apex predators had seemed like such a brilliant idea 6 months ago. Every species in the Galactic Federation would bring their homeworld's most dangerous creature. We'd study them, compare notes, maybe learn something about survival and evolution. You know, science stuff. Educational. Safe. I should have known better. Attention, delegates. I called out, my voice cracking slightly. Please ensure your containment fields are at maximum strength. We will begin presentations in 5 minutes. To my left, Ambassador Thork of the Mandible Collective stood beside a reinforced titanium cage. Inside that cage was something called a razor-spine dreadclaw, which looked exactly like what would happen if a bear and a scorpion had a baby and that baby was raised on pure hatred. It had already tried to melt through its cage 3 times using acid spit. My species evolved alongside these magnificent hunters, Thork chittered proudly, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. On Mandible Prime, children learn to outrun dreadclaws before they learn mathematics. It teaches resilience. It teaches trauma, I muttered, checking my datapad. To my right, Ambassador Kellis of the Aquatic Depths had brought something she called a voidmaw leviathan. Even in its juvenile state, contained in a massive water-filled cylinder, the thing was the size of a transport shuttle. Rows upon rows of teeth lined a mouth that seemed to unhinge in ways that violated several laws of physics. In our deepest trenches, Kellis burbled through her translation device, these creatures hunt in total darkness, sensing fear itself. Quite literally. They have organs that detect the chemical composition of terror. Fantastic, I said weakly. Absolutely wonderful. The presentations continued. The Phyrene brought their Skyrender, a flying nightmare with wings that could slice through whole plating. The Gorthax brought their Bone Crusher Behemoth, which was basically a living tank with anger management issues. The Silicates brought their Magmacore Serpent, which I'm pretty sure was just sentient lava with a grudge. Every single species had brought something that could kill you in increasingly creative ways, and then the humans arrived. Captain Marcus Webb walked into the chamber wearing the kind of relaxed smile that immediately made me suspicious. In my experience, humans only smiled like that when they were about to do something either incredibly brave or phenomenally stupid. Usually both. Greetings, delegates. Marcus said cheerfully. Thanks for waiting. We had a bit of a situation during transport. Behind him, 2 other humans struggled with what appeared to be a standard travel carrier. The kind you'd use for a small pet. Not, you know, an apex predator. Ambassador Thork's mandibles clicked skeptically. Human Marcus, where is your apex predator? Surely Earth, with its diverse biosphere, has produced something worthy of this summit? Marcus's grin widened. Oh, we brought something special, all right. Delegates, meet Lily. He opened the carrier. For a moment, nothing happened. The chamber fell silent. Every species leaned forward, scanning for the inevitable horror that would emerge. What came out was small, pink, and wearing overalls decorated with cartoon spaceships. That's a human juvenile, I said slowly, my translator struggling with my confusion. You brought a child. Not just any child, Marcus corrected, looking far too proud of himself. A 3-year-old human experiencing what we call the terrible twos. Extended edition. The tiny human, Lily, looked around the chamber with wide eyes. She clutched a stuffed animal that might have been a bear, or possibly an elephant. It was hard to tell, as it was missing one ear and appeared to have been through several wars. This is your apex predator? Kellis burbled, her water tank rippling with what I assumed was confusion. This tiny creature? It has no fangs, no claws, no armor plating whatsoever. Ah, Marcus said, his smile taking on a dangerous quality. That's what you think. Lily's lower lip began to tremble. Oh no, whispered one of the other humans, a woman named Jessica who suddenly looked terrified. Marcus, her face is doing the thing. What thing? I asked. The pre-meltdown face, Jessica said, backing away slowly. Someone get the snacks. Get the snacks. But it was too late. Lily's face crumpled like a dying star, her mouth opened impossibly wide, and she released a sound that I can only describe as a sonic weapon wrapped in pure emotional devastation. Wah-wah-ha. The cry hit a frequency that made my ear membranes vibrate. Around the chamber, containment fields flickered. The dreadclaw in its titanium cage actually backed away, pressing itself against the far wall. What is happening? Thork shouted over the noise. What is this attack? That's not the attack, Marcus yelled back. That's just the warm-up. Lily, still screaming, dropped her stuffed animal. This apparently was a catastrophic error, because the volume increased by approximately 40%. Then she did something that made every delegate in the room take a step back. She threw herself on the floor. "I don't wanna!" Lily shrieked, her small fists pounding the ground with surprising force. "I don't wanna be here. I want mommy. I want juice. I want my tablet." The tantrum had officially begun. Lily began what humans apparently call thrashing. Her legs kicked out with enough force to send her sliding across the polished floor. Her arms windmilled wildly. Her face turned an alarming shade of red that I'm pretty sure violated several biological norms. "Is she injured?" I asked frantically, reaching for my medical kit. "Is she dying?" "Nope," Jessica said, popping the P sound with grim satisfaction. "She's just mad because Marcus didn't let her bring her glitter collection." "Glitter!" Lily screamed, as if summoned by the word. "I need glitter. Glitter, glitter, glitter." Ambassador Kellis's void maw leviathan, the creature that hunted in absolute darkness and fed on fear, began swimming frantically in circles. Its fear detection organs were presumably having a complete system overload. The razor-spine dreadclaw started making a high-pitched whining sound I'd never heard before. According to Thork's suddenly pale expression, neither had he. "This is impossible," Thork whispered. "The dreadclaw fears nothing. It has hunted mandible warriors for sport. Why is it whimpering?" "Because," Marcus said calmly, having to shout over Lily's continued wailing, "your dreadclaw evolved to deal with physical threats. Fangs, claws, poison. It has no evolutionary defense against pure, concentrated, illogical fury." Lily had now progressed to phase 2 of her tantrum. She'd spotted a nearby chair and decided it was the enemy. With a wordless shriek of rage, she grabbed the chair, which was 3 times her size, and began trying to throw it. When that didn't work, she settled for kicking it repeatedly while crying. "I hate this chair," she announced to the universe. "Stupid chair. Stupid, stupid, stupid." The chair had done nothing wrong. It was an innocent piece of furniture. But in Lily's 3-year-old perspective, it had committed unforgivable crimes. "Human Marcus," I said, my voice shaking, "you need to contain your apex predator immediately." "Can't," Marcus replied cheerfully. "Tantrum protocols state that we have to let it run its course. Trying to stop it only makes it worse. Trust me, we tried." Lily had now discovered the refreshment table. In one swift motion that would have impressed any military tactician, she swept her arm across it, sending carefully arranged refreshments flying. Drinks splashed, snacks scattered, and a plate of Gorthaxian ceremonial crystals shattered on the floor. "Everything is terrible," Lily wailed, her voice somehow getting even louder. "I don't like anything." The magma core serpent's containment field began fluctuating. The bone crusher behemoth had curled into what I can only describe as a defensive ball. The Skyrender's wings were folded tight against its body, a universal sign of submission. All of the galaxy's most dangerous predators were displaying fear behaviors, because of a tiny human having a bad day. "This is your apex predator," I said, understanding dawning with the force of a supernova. "Not because of physical strength." "Nope," Jessica confirmed. "Humans don't have fangs or claws or armor. What we have is persistence, adaptability, and the ability to survive anything. Including raising these little chaos engines. Any species that can regularly handle a toddler tantrum and come out sane on the other side? That's a species you don't mess with." Lily had found a marker somewhere. I have no idea where. She had been searched before entering. Yet there it was, a bright purple marker, and she was now drawing on the walls while crying. "I'm making art," she sobbed, creating what appeared to be a very angry circle. "Everyone look at my art." "It's beautiful, sweetie," Marcus called out supportively. "It's terrible and I hate it." Lily screamed, crossing out her own drawing. "I'm a bad artist. Everything is the worst." The emotional whiplash alone was exhausting to witness. Ambassador Thork's mandibles had stopped clicking entirely. He stared at Lily with what I recognized as dawning respect mixed with horror. "How long does this typically last?" "Anywhere from 5 minutes to 3 hours, Jessica said casually. "Depends on nap schedules, blood sugar levels, and the mysterious whims of toddler psychology. It's basically chaos theory given flesh." Lily had now tired herself out enough to transition to phase 3, the bargaining phase. She approached Marcus with tears streaming down her face, her stuffed animal clutched desperately to her chest. "Daddy," she whimpered, her voice small and heartbreaking, "I sorry. Can I have snack now?" Just like that, the storm passed. Marcus picked her up gently, and Lily buried her face in his shoulder, her small body shuddering with leftover sobs. He rubbed her back soothingly. "Of course, princess. You want the fruit pouches or the crackers? Both, Lily sniffled. And juice. You got it. The chamber was destroyed. Refreshments everywhere, marker on the walls, several delegates visibly shaken. And yet, Marcus looked completely unfazed, as if this was just another Tuesday, which, I realized with growing horror, it probably was. The silence that followed Lily's tantrum was the kind of silence you usually only hear in the vacuum of space. Profound. Absolute. Slightly terrifying, I stood there, clipboard in hand, trying to process what had just happened. My fur was standing on end, my ears were still ringing, and I had the distinct feeling that I'd just witnessed a pivotal moment in galactic history. I just wasn't sure if it was a good pivotal moment or the kind that gets mentioned in history books with words like catastrophic and unprecedented. Lily sat contentedly in Marcus's arms, munching on crackers and sipping juice from a small container with a colorful straw. Her face was still blotchy from crying, her hair stuck up in about 7 different directions, and she looked like the most innocent creature in the entire galaxy. She had just terrorized an entire room of apex predators. So, I said finally, my voice coming out higher than intended, shall we continue with the evaluations? Ambassador Thorpe was still staring at Lily like she might explode again at any moment. His mandibles twitched nervously. Evaluations. Yes. Of course. He paused. Does the human juvenile require containment protocols? Oh no, Marcus said cheerfully, adjusting Lily on his hip. She's fine now. Fed, hydrated, emotional needs expressed. We're good for at least another hour. Another hour? Kellis burbled from her water tank, her translation device crackling slightly. You mean this could happen again? Well sure, Jessica said, pulling out a small datapad and checking it. We're about 45 minutes from nap time, and historically, that's when things get interesting. How is your species not extinct? I blurted out before I could stop myself. Marcus laughed, an actual genuine laugh that somehow made the situation more unsettling. That's the thing, Vrax. We're not just survivors. We're adaptation specialists. Humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being the strongest or the fastest. We did it by being the most stubborn, the most creative, and the most capable of dealing with absolutely ridiculous situations. Lily chose that moment to offer me a cracker. A small, slightly soggy cracker extended from her tiny hand. For you, she said softly, her earlier rage completely forgotten. You look sad. I took the cracker with trembling fingers. It was covered in what I hoped was just juice. Thank you, small human. She beamed at me, and I felt something in my chest do a weird flip. How did this creature go from weapons-grade tantrum to adorable generosity in the span of 5 minutes? What kind of evolutionary advantage was this? Now, Marcus said, setting Lily down but keeping hold of her hand, I believe we were discussing apex predators? The evaluation criteria were adaptability, survival instinct, threat capability, and psychological impact. Want to score each creature? The other ambassadors exchanged glances that ranged from confused to horrified to grudgingly impressed. Ambassador Vrax of the Firene stepped forward, his feathers still ruffled from the earlier chaos. His sky render remained pressed against the back of its cage, making soft clicking noises of distress. The sky render, Vrax began, his voice carefully controlled, has a threat radius of 3 kilometers. Its wing blades can slice through reinforced steel. It hunts in packs, coordinating attacks with electromagnetic pulses. He paused. However, it appears to have been psychologically compromised by the human juvenile's emotional display. The Dreadclaw, Thorpe added reluctantly, has eliminated entire mandible hunting parties. It feels no fear, shows no mercy, and can survive in environments ranging from volcanic regions to frozen tundras. His mandibles clicked slowly. Yet it attempted to dig through its own cage to escape the small humans crying. One by one, each ambassador described their apex predator. Each description included impressive physical capabilities, hunting statistics, survival rates. And each description ended with some variation of, but it was terrified of the toddler. I must raise a procedural concern, I said, consulting my clipboard even though my hands were shaking. The summit guidelines specifically state that apex predators must be contained at all times. The human juvenile is currently uncontained and mobile. Oh, she's contained, Jessica said with a smirk. Watch this. Lily, honey, can you please stay in the blue circle on the floor? Lily looked down at a small blue marking that I'd assumed was just part of the floor design. Okay, she chirped, parking herself in the middle of it and resuming her cracker consumption. That's your containment? Kellis asked incredulously. A colored circle? And a promise, Marcus added. Humans don't just have physical abilities. We have social contracts. Even at 3 years old, Lily understands boundaries, rules, agreements. Sure, she'll test them constantly, and sometimes she'll have a complete meltdown, but the framework is there. That's actually more frightening, I muttered, making notes. Your apex predators have social structures. All human children do, Jessica explained, crouching down to Lily's level to wipe some cracker crumbs from her face. They're learning constantly. Every tantrum, every boundary test, every social interaction is training. By the time we're adults, we've spent years practicing cooperation, negotiation, and conflict resolution. Lily held up her stuffed animal. Mr. Flops wants to meet the monsters. Those aren't monsters, sweetie, Marcus said gently. They're called apex predators. Very important creatures from different worlds. Can I pet them? Absolutely not. Why? Because they might hurt you. Lily considered this with the serious expression that only small children can manage when contemplating the universe's mysteries. I wouldn't hurt them. We know, princess. But they don't know that. Ambassador Thorpe made a strangled sound. The juvenile is concerned about the predator's feelings? Empathy, Marcus said simply. Another human trait. We can imagine what others are thinking and feeling. It's how we build alliances, form communities, and occasionally talk our way out of being eaten. The bone crusher behemoth chose that moment to uncurl slightly from its defensive position. Its massive head swiveled toward Lily, sensory organs probably trying to assess whether the threat had passed. Lily waved at it. Hi, big turtle. That's not a turtle, I said weakly. It has a shell. That makes it a turtle. Her 3-year-old logic was airtight. Apparently, the behemoth, which had reportedly demolished fortified positions during the Gorthax territorial wars, tilted its head like a confused puppy. Is your creature trying to communicate with the child? I asked the Gorthax ambassador, a sturdy being named Krell. Krell's rocky features arranged themselves into what might have been surprise. The behemoth does not communicate. It only destroys. It's definitely trying to communicate, Jessica observed. Look at the head tilt, the eye focus, the body language. It's curious about her. Lily had apparently decided that the behemoth was her new best friend. Still staying within her blue circle, as promised, she began singing a song. I recognized it from human cultural databases as something called a nursery rhyme, though why humans had rhymes specifically for nurseries was beyond me. Twinkle twinkle little star, Lily sang, her voice sweet and completely off-key, how I wonder what you are. The behemoth moved closer to its containment field, drawn by the sound. This is unprecedented, Krell rumbled. The behemoth has never shown interest in anything except food and combat. Up above the world so high, Lily continued, swaying slightly, like a diamond in the sky. One by one, impossibly, the other apex predators began settling down. The Dreadclaw stopped pacing. The Skyrender's feathers smoothed. Even the Voidmaw Leviathan stopped its frantic swimming and floated peacefully in its tank. What is she doing? I whispered. Being human, Marcus said softly. We're pattern makers, storytellers, music creators. We find ways to connect with anything and everything. It's probably why we domesticated wolves into dogs, turned wildcats into house pets, and somehow convinced dolphins to interact with us for fun. Your species befriended other predators? Vrax asked, his feathers standing up in alarm. Befriended, domesticated, occasionally married, Jessica said with a shrug. We're very social creatures. Dangerously social. We'll pack bond with anything that holds still long enough. Robots, plants, inanimate objects. One human famously befriended a volleyball after a spacecraft crash. The song ended. Lily clapped for herself, and then, because 3-year-olds have no concept of personal space or diplomatic protocols, she turned to address the entire room. I like all the animals, she announced. They're good. Can we take them home? No, sweetie, Marcus said patiently. They have their own homes. Her lower lip trembled. The room collectively tensed. But I could visit, she asked hopefully. Maybe when you're older. Crisis averted. For now, I cleared my throat, trying to regain some semblance of official protocol. Based on today's demonstrations, we need to evaluate each species' apex predator across our established criteria. Physical threat capability, survival adaptability, psychological impact, and overall danger assessment. The voting took 30 minutes. It was the most uncomfortable 30 minutes of my career, and I once had to mediate a dispute between two species who communicated entirely through aggressive interpretive dance. When the votes were tallied, I stared at my datapad in disbelief. The results are unanimous, I announced, my voice barely steady. The human juvenile, designation Lily, has been ranked as the most psychologically impactful apex predator presented at this summit. Lily, who had absolutely no understanding of what this meant, continued playing with Mr. Flops. The committee notes, I continued, reading from the official report, that while the human juvenile lacks traditional predatory features such as claws, fangs, venom, or armor, she demonstrates unprecedented capability for psychological warfare through emotional manipulation, unpredictable behavior patterns, and the ability to inspire both terror and affection simultaneously. Her capacity to reduce fully grown apex predators to states of submission or confusion is unmatched. Furthermore, the fact that adult humans regularly manage multiple juveniles while maintaining complex civilizations suggests a species-wide resilience that is genuinely terrifying from a strategic standpoint. Marcus accepted the ceremonial crystal trophy with a proud smile. We'd like to thank the Academy, though really, all the credit goes to Lily. She's been working very hard on her tantrums. Not supposed to have tantrums, Lily said matter-of-factly. But sometimes I just really need to. And that, Jessica added, is probably the most honest thing anyone will say at this summit. As the delegates began filing out, carefully keeping their distance from Lily, who was now trying to count her fingers and getting confused around 7, I approached Marcus one final time. Be honest with me, I said quietly. If humanity ever decided to become hostile, would you weaponize your children? Marcus looked genuinely horrified. What? No. Of course not. We'd never put our kids in danger. I felt a wave of relief. We wouldn't need to, he continued. Any species that tried to invade Earth would have to deal with millions of parents protecting their children. And trust me, you haven't seen scary until you've seen a human parent whose kid is threatened. The tantrum you witnessed today? That's nothing compared to what a protective parent can do. Noted, I said weakly, making a mental note to add a special warning to Earth's diplomatic file. As the humans prepared to leave, Lily walked up to me one more time and hugged my leg. You're nice, she said. I'm sorry I was loud. That's okay, small human, I managed to say, patting her head awkwardly with one paw. She smiled up at me, gap-toothed and genuine, and toddled back to her parents. Watch them go, this family of apex predators disguised as ordinary beings. The galaxy thought it knew what danger looked like. Fangs, claws, venom, rage, but humanity had proven something far more unsettling. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe is something small, unpredictable, and capable of making you care about it even as it destroys your sanity. I looked down at my clipboard, at the official results, at the future implications. I need a vacation, I said to the empty chamber. From somewhere in the distance, I heard Lily's voice one more time. Daddy, I'm hungry again. And I heard Marcus's patient response. I know, princess. I know. Humans. The galaxy's most terrifying apex predators, because they survived raising their young and somehow still had energy left over to explore the stars.